plus markets across the United States of America. Check your AM, FM dial nearest you, plus ESPN Radio on Sirius XM Channel 80, plus ESPN Radio simulcast over the live national television airwaves of ESPN News. Number to call up as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. The Stephen A. Smith Show is being brought to you by Credit Karma. Get your truly free credit scores and free credit monitoring from Credit Karma today. That's Credit Karma, K-A-R-M-A. Get knowing. Time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Let's get right to it. The Super Bowl is over. Super Bowl 53 is over. But the NBA trading deadline is exactly 50 hours away. 2 days and 2 hours. 3 p.m. deadline, Thursday afternoon, the NBA trading deadline will have expired. And the story of stories that has been circulating throughout this country is Anthony Davis and whether or not he is indeed going to the Los Angeles Lakers. I got news for you. Jonathan, are you looking at me? Because I have some very big news for you. Are you ready for what I'm willing to tell you right now? Anthony Davis will not be going to Boston. Anthony Davis, by this summer, because I don't believe, don't get me wrong, it's not impossible. It could happen. He could definitely still end up in L.A. this Thursday, but I don't believe it's going to happen. And I'll explain why in a second. But come July of 2019, Anthony Davis will be a Los Angeles Laker or a New York Knick. I'm going to say it again. Anthony Davis will be a Los Angeles Laker or a New York Knick. That is what I ultimately believe will happen. Now, obviously, it's one of those situations where the Pelicans would have to capitulate, and maybe that's enough to take the Knicks off the table. Here's what I mean by what I say. Those are the two destinations he wants most. He wants to be in that kind of market. Rich Paul, Clutch Sports, they want him in that kind of market. And I don't believe for 1 second, I'm sorry to tease you, New York Knicks fans, he ain't coming to New York because the New York Knicks don't have enough assets to get him to New York. Personally speaking, you got a better chance of getting Kevin Durant than you do at getting Anthony Davis because Anthony Davis, A, wants to be in L.A., and B, L.A. has more tradable assets than the New York Knicks, whereas you don't have to have assets to get Kevin Durant. He's a free agent, free to end up in New York of his own recognizance. And right now, the New York Knicks are targeting Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving as the duo to end up in New York. Are they going to pull it off? That remains to be seen. We'll get into all of that as the show progresses today. But right now, the Los Angeles Lakers are on the clock for Anthony Davis. And I got to tell you something right now. Everybody's been pointing the finger at Magic Johnson, how much pressure he's under. I'll tell you the two biggest people who are under pressure for the Los Angeles Lakers. It is Jeannie Buss if the deal doesn't get done this Thursday. And it is LeBron James if something doesn't happen this summer. And I'm not talking about Anthony Davis. I'm talking about the free agents. Kawhi Leonard, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, Kemba Walker, Jimmy Butler. I'm talking all of them. DeMarcus Cousins. I'm talking all of them. If somebody does not end up in L.A. this summer, I'm looking right at LeBron James. I'm looking right at the king. And y'all think Shuggy on Instagram has a ball with me to imitate me. You ain't talking about the serious here. You think he has fun with me now. Oh, my Lord, the material he's going to have this summer if the Los Angeles Lakers and LeBron James don't get somebody to come to Tinseltown. Because that's just inexcusable. You're the best player in the world. You're a leader. You go to L.A., palm trees, sunshine, beautiful weather, Lakers law, the brand that is the Lakers. You can't get anybody to come play with you? Anybody? You can't get somebody? It's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem. But for the moment, this is not on LeBron James. And I have to say, it's on the lovely sweetheart of a woman that is Jeannie Buss. It's not Magic Johnson. First of all, let me be very, very clear. What I'm about to say, Magic Johnson would categorically probably deny. That's my friend, my brother. I love him. If Magic Johnson was sitting next to me on national television and he said opposite or contrary to what I'm about to tell you, I'd look him dead in his face and say, that's a damn lie. And you know it. Magic Johnson would not have drafted Lonzo Ball if it were not for Jeannie Buss. He can say anything he wants. He can say anything he wants. Magic Johnson would not have drafted Lonzo Ball with the number 2 overall pick if it were not for Jeannie Buss. Jeannie Buss obviously is the matriarch of the Los Angeles Lakers. She is the wonderful daughter of the late, great Dr. Jerry Buss. She is an extraordinary woman who does a great, great job stewarding the Lakers franchise. But over the course of her career, because she's been involved in a business side for quite some time, she's made 2 pivotal mistakes. 2 of them. Number 1, because she had to honor her daddy's wishes, knowing that her daddy wanted his son, Jim Buss, to run basketball operations. She capitulated to the wishes of her daddy, which is obviously forgivable because that's her daddy, and she loved him so. And this man wanted that son, who, by the way, I don't know Jim Buss from a can of paint. Had the pleasure of talking to him once, meeting him, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not trying to excoriate him as a person. I'm not trying to say he's some bad guy or he's some bad seed or he's some bad son. I would never say that. That's irresponsible. I wouldn't know what the hell I'm talking about. I have no idea what his relationship with his son was. I'm not getting into all of that. But I do know this. He wasn't the most competent brother in the world when it came to basketball operations. I do know this. There's a few times he was seen at Hooters while a basketball game was being played at the Staples Center. And I do know this, number 3, his relationship with Jeannie Buss was visibly toxic enough that it made people around them very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. Now, Jeannie Buss, it's not that she obviously acquiesced and capitulated to the demands of her daddy and let Jim Buss run basketball operations. He's a sibling too. He's a son as well, or a child of Dr. Buss as well. So he's got rights that she has too. We get all of that. The flip side to it, however, what the hell you did keeping him in that position so long? How come you didn't get rid of him sooner, before the damage that he did was potentially irreparable? So that was problem number 1 for Jeannie Buss. Problem number 2, because she's not a billionaire, like Steve Ballmer is, or the late Paul Allen, Mark Cuban, and others, because the money in the Buss family, even though if they sold it, they'd be billionaires because they'd be, you think the Clippers if the Clippers are worth $2 billion for Ballmer to buy, the Lakers are easily worth $3 billion. Okay? But the Buss family is synonymous with the Lakers. They don't want to sell. Okay, we get that. Here's the other side to all of that. Jeannie Buss needed a box office draw. LeVar Ball, the marketing wizard that he is, put his son in our mind's eye. Had us thinking this brother out of Chino Hills starring for UCLA is going to be special in the pros. And the reality is we haven't seen that yet. I'm not saying that Lonzo Ball's a scrub. I'm not trying to disrespect him. I know he can play. He's smart too. He's getting bigger. He's working on his game. But here's the reality of the situation. 2 things are very real about him. His jump shot is lacking, but more importantly than that, his assertiveness. My number 1 knock against Lonzo Ball is lack of assertive. I can't believe I'm saying that with the daddy he's got, that he's not aggressive enough. Because that's the last thing you would hear, you would concern yourself with about a son of LeVar Ball, that he wouldn't be aggressive enough. But he's not. And because of that, think about this. Why is all of this relevant on a day that we're talking about Anthony Davis? I'll tell you why. With a Kuzma, with an Ingram, if you had Jason Tatum, you think it would be harder or easier to make a deal with the Pelicans? The Pelicans, the Lakers on the table right now. They put Ingram. They put Kuzma. They put Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. They put, who else is Josh Hart. They've got 2 first-round picks that they forfeited. And damn it still ain't enough. You trying to tell me it would be that easier for the Pelicans to hold the fort if Jason Tatum was available? Or De'Aaron Fox? Or Lauri Markkanen? Or Dennis Smith Jr.? To a lesser degree, Malik Monk? Or how about Donovan Mitchell? These are all people that Magic Johnson passed up to draft Lonzo Ball. De'Aaron Fox, yes, that De'Aaron Fox. That point guard on the Sacramento Kings team that looks quite good, ladies and gentlemen. You saw that 360 dunk by Marvin Bagley last night. They got some special young athletes on their crew. And De'Aaron Fox, when we saw him in college, his last game was a step further than UCLA because he dropped 39 on Lonzo Ball and bounced UCLA right out of the postseason, the NCAA tournament. You could have drafted any of these people number 2 overall. You chose Lonzo Ball because clearly it was a box office move. And now you're the Los Angeles Lakers and you're in a bind. You're in a bind. And the reason why you're in a bind is because guess what? The Pelicans are being pressured not to do a damn thing for the Lakers. And everybody's going to deny it, and that's fine. But the league don't want this to happen. Executives for respective teams, particularly in the small markets, don't want this to happen. Opposing GMs don't want this to happen. Opposing agents don't want this to happen. They don't like Rich Paul. And they damn sure don't like Rob Pelinka, the GM for the Los Angeles Lakers, which is why it's Magic that has to be on the phone with Dell Demps, because he wouldn't even talk to Rob Pelinka, from what I'm told. Now, in fairness to Rob Pelinka, a gentleman that's always been nice to me, never did anything wrong to me. I don't have any problems with Rob Pelinka. And I'm going to lean on what Kobe says in terms of him being that basketball savant, somebody that played with the Fab Five. He was their teammate. In their back-to-back trips to the national championship game. He's been a stellar agent throughout his career, but you've got some agents that have very, very bitter feelings about him. And then there's Rich Paul. Now, in the interest of full disclosure, I talk to all of these agents. Rich Paul amongst them. I happen to like Rich Paul. I like Rich Paul a lot. I think he's a good brother who knows how to hustle. And guess what? If he's out dueling you at your own game, deal with it. If y'all expected somebody to hate on Rich Paul, y'all came to the wrong place. And no, I don't get anything from Rich Paul because Rich Paul talked to LeBron, and LeBron and I are cordial with each other. We say hi or bye, and that's it. I leave the interviews to Rachel Nichols. Because I ain't kissing not to say that she does, because I'm not saying that, but I ain't kissing nobody's you know what. So LeBron and I don't have that kind of relationship, and that is fine with me. But I love Rich Paul. I love Maverick Carter. I love Randy Mills. I love his whole crew of guys. I love them because guess what? They on their grind. They're doing their own things. And they're good, real brothers that's making an honest living and representing him very, very well. And they're ultra protective of him as they should be. They're good people who don't deserve, by the way, to be criticized as much as they're criticized. But if you're Rich Paul, because I don't know anybody who has a negative word to say about Maverick Carter. I mean, my God. You see him, he starts smiling. He smile at a cockroach, for crying out loud. He's always got the smile on his face. As friendly as you want to be. Rich Paul, not so much. When you talk about Rich, he's proven to be a hell of an agent that tries to make things happen. And he's trying to get Anthony Davis to L.A. And clearly this was in the works since last summer. So that's what you have. Either way you slice it, you have people who, by the way, LeBron's an enemy of theirs. I'm talking about league. I'm not talking about the league office. I'm talking about team officials. They look at him as the embodiment of what they don't want these athletes to be, because LeBron is an incredibly influential and powerful athlete who has been able to dictate his own destinations on 3 occasions. That can snub the money. That can shove aside whatever influence you think you got. That can look somebody like Pat Riley in the face and say, bye, Felicia. I don't need you no more. I did this. I'm doing this. I gave you 4 years. Like I said, I don't mess with LeBron, but we ain't enemies. He's a good dude. Incredible role model. And a champion. But he wields a level of power and is very public and flagrant about it to such a degree that makes the status quo uncomfortable. Not with him, but with others destined to follow to try to do the things that he has done. And they're not having it. When you hear people talk about how Anthony Davis ain't no way in hell he gonna end up in L.A. before Thursday, they're saying stuff like, you cannot allow LeBron James to get away with this. Those are the words they're using. That's not me. Those are the words they're using. You cannot allow LeBron James. He's a player, right? They don't view him that way. They hear Clutch Sports with Rich Paul, they're thinking he's running it. That's what they're thinking. They think he's behind everything. So the bottom line is, when you look at it from that perspective, they want to stop him. And if Anthony Davis were to end up in L.A. before the trading deadline expires, you're capitulating to LeBron. The same LeBron that left Cleveland for Miami without telling the owner, and he found out on television like the rest of us. The same LeBron who left Pat Riley. And while Pat Riley with Alonzo Mourning and others flew to Vegas to talk to him, they were talking to Rich Paul. LeBron was on a Nintendo game or whatever the hell it was, PlayStation or whatever the hell it was. To the point where Alonzo Mourning and others felt the need to approach him and go like, yo, man, show this man some respect. You can't do that. I had people tell me that, and it wasn't Alonzo. But that's how flagrant the disrespect was towards Pat Riley in Pat Riley's eyes at the time. So you had an owner like Dan Gilbert offended. You had a guy like Pat Riley offended. You come back to Cleveland. Brilliant move. You erase a 52-year-old curse. You win a championship. You left Cleveland again. You owe them nothing. They should be grateful forever. And now you go to L.A. And in the meantime, along the way, you've proven to be a savant as a basketball mind, brilliant at business, and literally bringing guys along and teaching them how to be just as brilliant as you are and how to buck the system. All things to be appreciated, all things to be admired, all things to look at LeBron James and say, damn, what a great role model. Particularly being African-American, considering the plight and the challenges to educate and to reach back and extend yourself the way that you do. What a special man. But then you got bold. And you got your own show on HBO. And you advertised who you are and who you wanted to be even more. Remember when he went at Nick Saban, acting like his show, The Shop, was the first time something like that had been done and somebody was stealing your idea? Nick Saban of all, that's the person you want to get in a fight with. And then after that, you start talking about owners in the NFL and accusing them of having a, quote, plantation mentality. Well, now you publicized your agenda. Even more so. So now you're scared the living hell out of everybody. And to capitulate to LeBron James is to send the league in a backward direction in their eyes. I, Stephen A. Smith, am not saying this to you. I am telling you what has been told to me as the motivation and the incentive behind the attitude that states, no way in hell do you give in to what the Lakers and LeBron James wants. That's the hole that Magic Johnson has been put in. And I'm not saying he can't dig himself out of it because he's Irvin Magic Johnson. I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen, it's a hell of a lot to ask for him to pull it off before this Thursday. But it ain't finished yet. Who knows? He might do it. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. That was Straight Talk Wireless. Nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. We'll continue talking about this stuff. I'll get into the Knicks angle in all of this as well. I'm also going to mention the Dallas Mavericks and what they get out of this deal for Porzingis as well, because that needs to be noted also. Kobe Bryant on James Harden, Kobe Bryant on Anthony Davis. All of that and then some is coming up as the show progresses today. So don't touch that dial. Stick around. You're listening live. Also, I got to get into Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper and whether or not he's going to be a Yankee. Machado, whether or not he's going to be a Yankee. Who the hell's going to be a Yankee? You got over 100 free agents out there. Spring training is about to start in a week. I got to get into all of that. So all of that stuff I'm going to get into. Plus Carson Wentz and the Philadelphia Eagles. Would you keep Carson Wentz or would you keep Nick Foles? Which quarterback do you think the Eagles should go into next year and the future with? 888-SAY-ESPN. You're listening live, Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. By the way, stop racking your brain about what Valentine's gift is truly going to make her day special. Roses from 1-800-Flowers are a no-brainer. Right now, when you order early, you can get the 18 stem enchanted rose medley for $29.99 or double it to the 36 stem enchanted roses for $20 more. To order the 18 stem enchanted rose medley for $29.99 or double the roses for $20 more, go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click the radio icon, and enter code Stephen A. Order today and save it at 1-800-Flowers.com, code Stephen A. That's with a PH, not a V. Hurry up. This offer ends Wednesday.
Learn what affects your credit scores and what you can do to